All of the food we eat and much of the clothing we wear comes from plants and animals that are raised on farms. Farms are different in type, in size, and even in name.
Before we dive in today's episode, I want to thank you for tuning in and supporting the brand. Over the last few years, I spent a lot of time starting Farmer Grade. We offer meat that you and your family can trust by strictly sourcing our cuts from farmers who share their story and processes online through social media. We provide high-quality beef and pork that is 100% born, raised, and harvested in the United States. If you want to support the content and the message we share online, I would appreciate it if you went over to farmergrade.com and you can use the code BARNTALK to save 10% off your next order. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. We love you. Now, let's get into the episode. Welcome to Barn Talk. What happens at the barn stays in the barn, but not today. We're going to let it all out for you guys. Today is going to be a Barn Talk Hot Topics episode. A lot of stuff going on in the world, and a lot of stuff going on in America, and a lot of polarizing people making some big claims and big statements, which is kind of cool, and we'll get into all that. But before we do, you guys know the drill. If you get any value from the show, share it out with who you know. It's kind of the ticket to admission to watch or listen to the show. The more that you guys do that, the better guests we can get on, the more podcasts we can create, the more reach we got. So we appreciate every single one of you that continue to do that. Also, feel free to leave a review on Spotify or Apple. We're still doing a raffle. So last week we announced the winners to the pork raffle that received 10 to 12 pounds of our pork from our farm sent directly to their door because they submitted proof that they left a review on the show. You could submit proof on Spotify or Apple and send your proof to barntalkshow@gmail.com. That's where you can email us at. You can also email your questions for Q&A episodes at barntalkshow@gmail.com. You want to grab your microphone so you don't forget. There we go. But before we get into the show, I got to give a big shout out because this was last week. We received a package. Dad received it at his house. Our houses aren't too far away from each other, so one of us receives each other's mail all the time, and this is kind of both of our mail. But anyway, went over to Dad's house, and there was this big box sitting there, and he was like, "This is gonna make your day," or something. You said sometimes I don't get very excited, and he was like, "This is gonna get you excited," and I was like, "Okay, I'm curious to know." And so I opened it up and I looked inside, and it was from First Form. And if any of you know or don't know, First Form is the company that Andy Frisella started 2 decades plus ago, and it's one of the biggest fitness brands in the world. They do a lot of great shit. They make a lot of products. They're in the supplement industry, but they have apparel, they have energy drinks, they got meat sticks, they got all this stuff, but they're kind of known for supplements. And they do shit at a first-class level. They do stuff very, very well. And anytime, I've always been a huge fan of Andy Frisella, but anytime I listen to his show, everybody that's a guest that comes on his show always talks about how when they walk through First Form headquarters, that it is just like something they never seen before because of the people that work there and just how they do everything is just so awesome. And everybody's kind of a team and on board, and it's a well-oiled machine. And so when I got this package, in there was meat sticks of all varieties, energy drinks of all varieties, protein bars of all varieties. They gave us some hats, some blender bottles, and Brian Gordon, shout out to you. He was the one that sent it. He works at First Form. He is a listener and watcher of Barn Talk. He loves what we're doing with Barn Talk and Farmer Grade, and he just took it upon himself to send us a free care package with all the goodies from First Form just to show his appreciation for what we're doing. And that was super, super cool, and I actually got a First Form energy drink here with me to get me going, screaming freedom. Anyway, I just want to give a shout out. That was, when I opened that up, it did make my day. It did give me some excitement because I respect that company. I respect Andy Frisella. And it's just that kind of gestures, those kind of gestures, that's service. I mean, that's the little shit that matters to people. And they do all that little shit all the time. And that was just another example of how they do things is really cool over there. So I just had to give a shout out to them. So anyway.
Good. It was good. I knew he'd be excited. I thought about hoarding all of it for myself. My first thought was that I was just going to not say anything, and then when you stopped by to raid my refrigerator, I was going to be drinking a can of Screamin' Freedom, and you'd just be like, where in the hell did you get that?
Yeah, I would have been kind of pissed because this is, you know what? Gas station energy drink brands that they are partnered with are fucking trash. I don't care what you say. You walk into a gas station, because I don't always buy energy drinks. I'm mostly a coffee drinker. But if I need to pick me up on a road trip, I like to get an energy drink. You walk in there, the selection's terrible. Terrible. First Form energy drinks are really good. 3D energy drinks are really good. Those are my two go-tos, and nobody ever has them, at least in Iowa. So I'm loving these, and I might have to buy a case every month because they're damn good.
I only kept one can. I got the blue raspberry because I love blue raspberry. That is the greatest flavor that God never invented. Yeah. I don't know where that came from, but anyway, it is. It's damn good.
I like energy drinks that don't have that energy drink like taste. Yeah. You know, Red Bull, Monster, Reign, all those drinks just, you're drinking an energy drink. Yeah. With these kind, it's not that strong, which I like that. So anyway,
awesome.
Got a market update for us?
I do have a market update. It is bright and early in the day, so these numbers are fresh off the press. Oh yeah, I just realized we just did a fix-it job before we came up here. I got your roll of Teflon tape if you need it. I'm sure that I won't return it to you, so when you can't find it, Dad took it. So,
yeah, I know you too well.
Corn. Last time I checked was up 2 cents, so it was $4.88. Best bid locally around here was $4.73. I think Cedar Rapids still has like maybe a $4.98 bid to the 15th, but I can't remember for sure if that's right or not. Excuse me. Beans $13.06 for January. Burlington has $12.68 and $13.09 across the river in Quincy. Wheat $5.83, bean meal $422 a ton, hogs $67.95. Oh, I don't know how many times I have to whine about the hog market, but the hog market is absolute trash. The whole damn world's losing money. I mean, the Chinese, I guess the futures market in China for hogs hit a new low. I don't know, it's the lowest in I don't know how many years, and they're in a panic over there. Europe, their prices are down. I shouldn't say that. Actually, I don't think that's correct. Prices in Europe are not down. Production is down. I think prices are actually pretty good in Europe, but around here, not so hot. Not a good time to be in the hog business. Cattle, $167. That is probably the lowest cattle price we've had in quite a while. They're starting to ease up. Same with feeder cattle, $209. Crude oil, $73.24. Bitcoin went above 40,000.
Wow,
it's 41,000. So
Michael Saylor on to something, or who said it?
Michael Saylor. Yeah,
was it Michael Saylor or Raoul Paul?
Both.
It's Bitcoin Spring.
Yep. Raoul Paul said that. Yeah, the crypto winter has ended. I imagine Michael Saylor has probably got a sigh of relief because they've been pouring every dollar of profit.
MicroStrategies.
Yeah, in there for, I don't know, years. Ethereum 2245. Tesla released the Cybertruck last week, and people have been out reviewing it, and all the reviews have been positive that I've seen. People are very impressed with it. A lot of people that wanted to hate it really couldn't hate it. The only thing you can hate about it is that look.
It's fucking ugly.
That it is kind of ugly. I watched a couple of reviews, and beast mode is pretty awesome in it, but I don't know, that damn thing is ugly. I think that if I did the American flag wrap on it, though, I think it'd be something. Anyway, like most good reveals of Tesla, the stock is down after they did that. Gold, $2,058, and I think that's I think that's about a high for gold. I look back at like the 10-year chart on gold, and I think that might be close to the high. Silver 22.49, and it's dreary around here. We had some snow last week. It's been kind of rainy. We need water. The whole Midwest is pretty dry, and all of the markets are pretty much running on export numbers and what the weather in South America is. So from now until we can get into what everybody thinks everybody's going to plant for spring, we're just going to trade on export news and the weather. So,
you selling any?
Probably. I think I am going to sell some corn. I want to cone out my big bin, and let's face it, I probably need the money anyway. Farm payment due. Retirement home payments are due. So
Seed.
Yeah, we just sat down with the seed guy, and I just thought every year, I think for sure seed's going to be cheaper. It never is. But this year, these genetics are so much better. So it's worth every penny.
Well, we got some good topics here. There's been a lot going on with just people voicing their opinions. And I think the one that went the most viral over the last week was Elon pretty much telling Bob Iger from Disney to go fuck himself. Yes. And all the advertisers that have a boycott on X to go fuck themselves.
Yeah.
And that was a really good clip.
Yep.
If you haven't seen the clip, we're going to roll the clip because you should see it.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go fuck yourself. But go fuck yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of versions of it where they leave out the part after he kind of goes on his rant, and then he says, "Hi, Bob." And he doesn't say it very clear, and some people thought he said, like, "Hi, Mom," like his mom was in the audience. But for context, before Elon was interviewed at this group or this meeting or whatever, Bob Iger from Disney, he was up on stage, and he was interviewed. So he was there, and he was in the audience. And Disney is one of the companies that has boycotted X. And so after his rant of, don't try to blackmail me and F you, then he says, "Hi, Bob." And it's a direct dig towards Disney and Bob Iger. And let's face it, Disney, they're pretty much the poster child of how you can take a company that is arguably hitting on all cylinders and
For decades.
And they bought the Marvel franchise. They bought the Star Wars franchise. They started their own streaming service. And they did a lot of things that people thought, man, they're just going to be a juggernaut. And then they have systematically fucked up every single thing they've touched. Their streaming service is losing a shitload of money. And I think they either did do it or they're in the process of selling off ESPN because they're trying to raise money. Marvel, the latest Marvel movie, The Marvels, I think, ass. One of the poorest. I think it's the poorest grossing Marvel movie, I think.
I haven't seen one in forever because after the last Avengers movie, ever since then, I feel like it just went straight downhill because they've all just been more and more woke, less about the action, less about, what we're there for, and more about what they want to push on to people. Yep. And we've talked about it a million times on the show. When you go to a movie, when you go to a sporting event, when you are listening to something or watching something to get away from the world, you don't want to be thrown back into the world with how that organization feels with the entertainment they're providing to you. You don't care. You're not there for that.
That's why it's called entertainment.
Yeah.
It's not like there is a difference between consuming
Barn Talk Hot Topics.
Right. Or political debate or reading the Wall Street Journal, consuming news, consuming opinion, consuming whatever.
When you know you're going to.
Right. That's what you're doing. That's what you're looking for. And entertainment. Entertainment is mindless nonsense that you just like to partake and be like, oh, that's cool, whatever. And Disney has, they've ruined themselves. They really have. They've ruined themselves. And, they talk about, there's people back and forth are like, oh, we should boycott Disney. I don't think you have to do anything. Disney's taking care of itself. It's losing money on just about everything it's doing except the theme parks. But even the traffic of the theme parks has been down. And I think it's all right because I think it's all right for people to boycott shit if they don't believe in what they're doing, because I feel like that's the ultimate rebellion you can have against these companies that think that they can just do whatever the fuck they want and we're just gonna accept it. But I also think you're right. Disney, it's not like they're making shitty movies. Yeah. It's not even just the wokeness. The movies aren't even as good. Like the whole Star Wars franchise, fucking trash now. Yeah. They ruined Star Wars. Star Wars was, it was unruinable.
It was amazing
until they got a hold of it.
And then they got a hold of it and it's just gone downhill. So they're not even making a good product anymore. So that's working against them. But also all their, like, I don't go to Marvel movies. I don't go to Marvel movies mostly because of the politics involved, but then also they're just not good anymore.
No,
they're just not good anymore. And same with the Star Wars. Yeah. It's just not good. It's not even good anymore.
They literally have made it to where you can watch the Phantom Menace and go, Jar Jar Binks, he's not that bad, really. They've literally lowered the bar so far that you're like, yeah, he's a talking fish. It's all right. I think he's okay. Yeah. Pretty good. It's good cinema.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So I could withstand the terrible special effects in the old Star Wars movies more than I can stand even watching the new ones.
Yeah. But getting back to Elon's point, it's a great clip if you haven't seen it because the guy interviewing him is just so dumbfounded by it. Like I'll actually give him credit because I think he was so taken aback that I wasn't sure if he was like gonna be able to keep the interview going, but he did. And he kind of tried to turn it to the point that, well, people aren't going to hold Disney accountable. They're going to hold you accountable because you're the one running this company and it's your voice that has pushed them out. And Elon's answer to it was, let Earth decide. Basically, let the people decide. Let the market decide. And
whose fault it is.
Yeah, whose fault it is.
If X fails.
And he said, well, do you think people are going to boycott Disney over this? And Elon so quickly was like, they already are.
Yeah, well, because he was like, do you really think they're going to take your word over Bob Iger or Disney's word and stop? You think they're going to stop consuming X or stop consuming Disney? And he was like, well, they already are stopped. They're already stopping watching Disney shit because of what they've done. Yeah, that was such a good clip too. The one that went viral was him telling everybody to go fuck themselves, but that clip gave a lot of context because, that's where we stand. I think people are sick of it. Elon is sick of it. And if X fails because of this advertising boycott, he's saying, I think people are going to take my side, because he said we're going to document it. If this advertising thing continues, this boycott continues on our platform, we're going to document it. And we're going to show everybody this is why X is failing. This is why we're going to go out of business. And you're going to be able to see. And Earth's going to decide whose fault it is and if that's right or if that's wrong.
Right.
And he thinks that they're going to hold these companies accountable for the downfall of X if X continues to spiral out of control. But I think it also benefited Elon because after that clip went viral, I was looking on all platforms. And you could just see what people are thinking. People are agreeing with Elon. What he said was not wrong. People are sick and tired of these corporations thinking that they can, dictate what we say, or we should just let them put shit in movies that we don't agree with and we should just go along with it, or they should put shit in their stores that no one agrees with and we should just go along with it. No, people are tired of it. People are flat out tired of it, and they are. I saw a lot of comments say, I'm going to pay that X subscription now. I'm going to sign up for a verified subscription on X now because I support Elon's views on this. Right. This makes me want to sign up for X more than ever before because, and I think he maybe knew that going in. If he, at the end of, we've said this too many times on the show, it doesn't pay to be vanilla.
Right.
Everybody wants, like, I think for a long time in Hollywood and in movies and all this shit, if you were in the limelight, you were just very vanilla. You don't voice your opinion too much. You're just inclusive for everybody, and you don't go veer off your line too much one way or the other.
Least resistance.
Yep. And I think in the world that we're moving towards or moving through, I don't know, however you want to say it, it's going to be really hard to become well-known or famous, quote unquote, if you don't have
authenticity,
something to say. If you're too vanilla, I just don't feel like people are going to resonate with that. Yeah. Like The Rock, this is veering off, but The Rock went on Joe Rogan the other week.
Yeah.
And everybody thought that was going to be such an awesome episode because it's like Joe Rogan, he usually gets the best out of people. He asks some questions they've never been asked before, and you get to really know that person deep. I watched a little bit of it. So fucking boring. He didn't open up at all. He didn't pick a side very much. He's just vanilla.
Yeah.
And I just think people are like, they don't like that because it almost makes you feel like, well, he's bought. Yeah. He doesn't want to say the wrong thing, so he's never going to voice his opinion.
I replied to somebody that sent me the clip of that. I had already seen it. I think that is a point that we may be able to look back. You just don't know. But I think we may be able to look back at that exchange between Elon and that reporter as kind of like, it's kind of the culmination, but it's also kind of the beginning. I think more and more people are on that. We're just tired. I think Americans are just tired of all this. And this kind of started, I mean, there's kind of a montage, but you know, Tucker Carlson, when he left Fox, he kind of had that point of view, and he expressed it. And then there's a great clip of Dana White being on Theo Vaughn's podcast, and it's the whole Peloton thing with Theo, but it's he doesn't say who it was that called him.
Yeah, somebody from Peloton called Theo.
No, but Dana White, because Dana White first told the story about how he on his personal Twitter account, he said something in support of Donald Trump. And then one of the sponsors of his company,
UFC's event, yeah,
called him and said, hey, you need to take that down. And he told him, fuck you.
Go fuck yourself.
And he said, I'm done with you.
Yeah.
Done with you. And he was talking about that on Theo Vaughn's, and then Theo said, "Oh yeah, well Peloton did this to me." And then Dana White was just like he was like a Jack Russell Terrier. He's like, "Who's the CEO of that?" And it's a great clip because they go down this whole rabbit hole, and then Dana's like, he gets the guy that's like the head of their facilities, their gym, and he's like, do we have Pelotons in there? And he's like, yeah, get them the fuck out of there. We're going to throw them in the dumpster.
Yeah, he said that's the way we got to do away with these companies that do this shit.
But you're seeing that. You're seeing people, both, I would say, business people that have to deal with other people, deal with sponsors. But this has been going on, I feel like, as an individual. We've been sick of this for I don't know how long. It's ridiculous because I want to buy a product, and I want to buy a product that's a good product. And when I buy that product, I don't want to buy their agenda, and I don't want to buy their politics. And when they start making their company's identity about the politics that they want to push down your throat, that's when I don't want to do business with them.
Well, and especially when it's the wrong politics.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, there's a wrong side and there's a right side.
Yeah.
And a lot of these companies are shoving shit down our throats that most Americans don't agree with.
Yeah. 100%.
Versus there's another company out there, like First Form, for example. American-made company, they're very on point with making that well known with a lot of people, that a lot of their shit, they're America first. That's what they stand on. They're going to do right by the people that work for them. They're in the state of Missouri. They're employing a lot of Americans. That's, I guess you could say that's politics, but that's what most people want to hear from a company. Mm-hmm. We're American first. We're going to put our people first. We're going to bring jobs to America. We're going to let you be you. Don't bring your woke shit here.
Yep.
And great.
Yep.
And that's the right, that's what most people want.
And they've been very clear too. Just do your job. If you come to work for us, just do your job. And I don't care who you are, what you who you identify with, what you do outside of this company. Just do your job. Mm-hmm. We don't need to make a day for every different point of view of every employee that works in this company. Just do your job, and we'll take care of you. You take care of us, and
we're all Americans.
We're all Americans. We can all agree on that. And I feel like we've gotten way too far away from that. But it with everything else that we're talking about, and we said this before, the problem is our political class and our media in this company or in this country, their goal is to stir up as much division as possible. So when I say, we can all agree we're Americans and, don't bring your politics to work, no, your politicians are pushing you to do that. The media is pushing you to do that because they want you upset with your neighbor. They want us divided from your coworker. They want that because the weaker we are as a people, the easier we'll accept the gruel that they want to give us. And it's high time that we all saw through the smokescreen and just hold those people accountable and be willing to stand up and say, no, we're not going to do that.
Or no, I'm not supporting your shit. Or I'm not watching your movies. Yeah. We hold all the power. You vote with your dollars. As much as people don't want to say that matters. Disney's losing their ass because they're making shitty products and they're going woke.
Yeah.
Target's lost a shitload of money since they pulled the whole transgender wardrobe deal that they did. A lot of people pissed off about that. Did not like that.
Yeah.
Don't want to shop at Target now. There's consequences to your actions.
Yeah. And if you're Target and you have pushed this whole agenda within these large cities that are run by ultra-liberal politicians, and you have supported them and supported all these ideas, and then your Target gets looted every weekend, and when there's a riot in the street, your Target gets burned down or your windows get broken, now you're seeing Target close stores in all of these big liberal cities, and it's like, this is exactly what you wanted. This is what you supported. These are the politicians that you supported as a corporate entity. And now then you're reaping what you sowed. And they're leaving. And people are pissed because, take San Francisco for an example. Downtown San Francisco, the amount of commercial real estate that is vacant just keeps rising. You got Starbucks moving out. Target moving out. All these stores are closing because they get looted constantly. They get theft. And hell, I don't know what the limit is. I think it's up to $500. If you steal less than $500, I don't even think if you get arrested, you don't get charged. You get released. Well, what happens? These companies don't want to be there. They supported all these politics and they supported all this. But then when it comes down to the bottom line and they see they're losing their ass on it, they're out. They're leaving. And everybody was just like, well, you can't do that. Why are you doing that? Well, you have reaped what you sowed, which is a real good tie in to our next point, unless you want to talk more about this.
No, I think we hit it on all of it. I mean, I'm with you. I think that the best thing we can do is to stop supporting these companies that think that they can control us, whether it be companies like what Theo Vaughn in Dana White, you know, somebody coming and telling, like, that's why we don't have sponsors on this show, really, because we say whatever the fuck we want, and most companies probably don't like that or want to be associated with it, and therefore that's why we don't get a lot of sponsors. But we're not going to stop, because this is how we feel, this is what we want to say, and we're going to say it. And no company's going to call us and tell us, if they did ever work with us, oh, we don't like what you said in that last Hot Topics, can you take that down? Or, oh, we don't want you to have DeSantis on because we don't like his views or his politics. Fuck you. No.
Yeah.
And it's the same with our products that we buy every day. Same shit. Look at the companies that you're buying products from and say, do they support the values that I live my life by? Are they putting America first? Are they putting their employees first? Are they bringing jobs back to America? Are they a good thing for society? Or are they pushing shit that isn't a good thing for society? Are they doing all this weird shit that you don't really fuck with and you don't like it? Well, don't support those companies, because your dollars matter. And they cannot profit, they cannot grow, they cannot benefit if enough people say, fuck you, I'm done with your shit. Period. They just can't. And they'll go out of business. Or they'll change their ways, wake up and say, okay, we might go a little too far here. People aren't really messing with this. We should probably stay away from talking about this subject or this certain thing. Great.
We're ahead of the curve, really. Because, you know, a lot of people that are in entertainment or podcasts or create content, they start and then they get sponsors, and then they say something and they piss them off and the sponsors leave. We, being so smart, we were like, well, we're just going to piss all the sponsors off
right away
before we even get any. That way we won't have to go through the pain of dealing with that. So we've pretty much weeded them down. Like, we've even had some people that work for companies that are selling products that we would be interested in say to us, yeah, but we'd love to sponsor you, but I'm pretty sure I don't think we could get it through our HR, or I don't think we could get it through legal. I don't think that they would do it. Mm-hmm. We're like, that's all right. Yeah. That's okay. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It is what it is. We're going to keep doing what we're doing, but see, gosh dang, we're smart.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's at the end of the day, I think this is what people are craving, because so much of entertainment nowadays is just it's either wrong in their politics or too vanilla, and nobody's saying what they actually think.
Yeah.
And people like Dana White, people like Elon, people like Tucker Carlson, people like Andy Frisella, people that are speaking out, talking about what they actually think.
Yeah.
And that actually resonates with what most people are thinking.
Yeah.
That's people resonate with that.
And I think all over this country there are great companies that are making great products, and the people running those, their whole idea is they don't want to talk to you about their politics. Like, they want to employ people and make a good product and sell it. And that's the way it should be. It's too bad that we've gotten to the point that anybody that's successful, if you're successful long enough, somebody's going to show up and want to know what you're doing, which is great, but then they want to know, like, they want to drag you into the political deal. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why there's just a lot of people that are conservative that just tolerate. They tolerate a lot of these loud voices that don't share their views because they have been taught, and just their work ethic, to just take care of you. Just take care of you. Do your job, do it well. If your job is creating a product, if you're a company, if you own a company, don't get into all that. Just do your work and create a product and employ people. But it's really, really hard to do because if you don't support something, when somebody comes around and they're raising money for this, or they're going to have whatever festival, and if you don't support it, well, then they want to know why. And then they want to drag you into this culture war we have going. And it's upside down. I feel like our society is just upside down as to what is really important. Hey guys, if you're a livestock producer, you've got manure. Our partner has your solution. Livestock Water and Energy creates clean, recyclable water, carbon credits, and 2 solid byproducts, fertilizer and the salts, from processing manure in real time. They clean the manure, and we get clean, recyclable water back to the barn, clean as a whistle. This process creates additional revenue streams for the livestock producer that they didn't have before. These guys are putting something together, and it's starting to smell like opportunity. Give them a shout at livestockwaterandenergy.com and watch our journey with them. We've partnered with these guys. Check out our YouTube channel, This'll Do Farm, and follow the journey there. Now let's get back to it. And that is, we're going to talk next about the DeSantis-Newsom debate. That was my tie-in to San Francisco.
Yeah, sorry.
I
messed it up.
Because it's totally right. But you can watch that and you can say that, man, DeSantis just crushed it. And you can look at it and say, oh, Newsom really held his own. My takeaway from that debate was that you have 2 governors there and you have 2 states, and there really is no way for Gavin Newsom to defend what he has done to California. However, if you watched any amount of that debate, so much of his rebuttal to what DeSantis came after him with, he used a lot of words about hate and alienation and how it made him feel and how he didn't like this and how he didn't like that. He totally tried to, because this is right out of a left-hand playbook, to make the debate about feelings and alienation and how it hurts people. Not about facts, not about what actually happened, but about how this makes somebody feel. That's what Newsom did throughout that. And I think for me, I'd never vote for the guy anyway, but I feel like anybody watching that thought, oh, if Biden has a medical issue and can't run and all this shit works out to where they need somebody to run and they're going to throw up Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom is a great politician. If you watch that, he's smooth, he's sharp, he's articulate, but he can't run away from his record. His record on California is so bad that no matter how much he can try to spin the conversation about how much of a bigot, how much of this, how much of that, whoever he's debating is, he can't run away from his record. And California is an absolute disaster. And it's his. He's been the governor long enough. He has to own that. He has to own that 100%. But I also agree with you, your point about DeSantis.
Yeah.
I think you're 100% right.
Yeah, my whole question, or my whole thought on just that debate as a whole, is just kind of, why did it take place? The reason I say that is just Newsom hasn't even announced that he's going to run for president. And DeSantis, I just feel like, has not come out and really campaigned hard and really, I just don't feel like, I was expecting more from him for just campaigning and this election coming up. And I feel like he thought that this was going to be some, big story or get a lot of media attention because they're going, 2 important states going at it, complete polar opposite of how they were ran during COVID and all that shit. And I wasn't surprised that DeSantis destroyed Newsom with facts because Florida did thrive. Florida's been thriving under, his leadership, and California has not. And it just, to me, was just like, what's the point of this? really the point of this, you know?
Yeah.
It would have been better for me. I would have been more interested and, you know, probably paid more attention to it if it was probably, you know, Trump versus DeSantis, or even Robert Kennedy Jr. versus DeSantis, or Vivek or DeSantis, you know? I feel like those, because, like, I think it's what you said. Newsom is not, I cannot see the dude winning the election. I think there's enough people that have woken up, continue to wake up, and they see the state of California, and they see that it's a train wreck and it's falling apart. There's no way he's getting elected. There's no way. And, you know, it's just, I just don't get why. And I think if I'm DeSantis, at the end of the day, if Trump runs and doesn't get thrown in prison or killed or anything like that, and he's able to run, no other Republican candidate has a shot, because
It's Trump's nomination to lose.
Yeah. If he gets it, nobody's got a shot. And so, and right now, I honestly think Vivek is kicking DeSantis' ass when it comes to campaigning and getting out there and getting on podcasts and doing shit. Like, Vivek is higher on the ranking, to me anyway, than DeSantis, because I just don't think DeSantis has done a good enough job getting out there and talking about what he's doing and what he's done. And I don't know. I feel like he thought this was going to be like a fucking nuke, that, oh yeah, I just kicked Gavin Newsom's ass in a debate, but I'm not surprised.
I think what's going to be interesting to watch, I mean, there's so much, because we're living in this is like upside down world, I feel like. But demographics are going to play a huge role in this election. And I feel like it's been this way for quite a while. It's like, who can you get out to actually vote? So I think DeSantis is still under the impression that he is going after the older people. And obviously he's catering to suburban white housewives, because they played a huge role in why Trump did not win the last election. But your generation and younger,
Yeah.
if they show up and vote,
It's Trump.
I think it is, but I think that nobody's done a better job of courting them than Vivek.
Yeah, Vivek is done a phenomenal job of getting on social media, working with young creators. He's worked with Jake Paul. He's worked with all kinds of guys that are doing different shit on social media. Whether there's, like, I saw a video of him going out with a guy that's known for surfing on TikTok or skiing on TikTok, and he went on a boat and he skied in his suit. He learned how to ski with this guy that's known for skiing on TikTok, water skiing, in a suit. And he, you know, just shit like that. Like, he's getting out there. He's showing that he can have some fun. He's talking to the younger generation. He's getting on the debate stage, and you cannot fault him. He's kicking everybody's ass on the debate stage. He just is. Yeah. Plain and simple. He has the last 2 times, and he's getting on podcasts. He is accepting any podcast invitation he can get besides ours.
Well, yeah,
I don't know if we
need to give him one.
I know we can't. It's hard to get to everybody and send out all the stuff we need to send out. But if we could get him on, we would. But I'm just saying, yeah, I think he's speaking to the younger crowd. But I still think no matter what, if Trump gets it, we're going to elect Trump. And I think in Trump's situation, how Biden's administration has played out, it has just ignited his flame even more, because the policies we had under Trump, how we were thriving as a country under Trump, the border situation, everything, foreign policy, everything was better under Trump, period. And the only thing that you could be pissed about is what the fuck came out of his mouth, which whatever. I can't fault you for that. But adding Biden right after him being in there,
yeah,
and how it's just completely turned into a fucking train wreck is only igniting the flame of Trump even more. And he's playing on that. He's playing on that. And I think the younger generation, I don't know. I feel like there's a cultural, I don't know. I think this is pretty common among young people between every generation. They want to do what is the opposite of what they're being told. And I feel like we're getting shoved down our throats all this woke shit, and we want to, we kind of want to be the opposition. We're hearing in social media and all this shit that's coming out and learning the truth about stuff. They're opposing that shit. Well, it's becoming more trendy to oppose the wokeness.
And I think your generation, though, has seen all of those people older that have put their faith in a government that, and we all believe, like, you see your parents and your grandparents that accepted what the media told them. They grew up with Walter Cronkite and the evening news telling you, and you said, oh, well, yeah, this is the way it is, to what we have today where you have CNN and you have big media, and they're flat out lying to you. I mean, they all have an agenda, and then you have politicians that the level of
lobbying,
money. If any poll you look at as far as how people rate different facets of society for honesty and integrity, politicians are all the way to the bottom. Politicians at every level are the lowest they've ever been.
And out of young people, who's at the top? Dana White.
Yes.
Elon Musk.
Right.
Joe Rogan. People that when we can listen to somebody or watch somebody and we can see you're voicing an opinion that might not be the most popular thing to say. Like, you're not holding back.
Right.
You gain a lot of trust with me.
Yeah.
Because I know this is what this motherfucker actually thinks.
Right.
And he's saying this out of what he feels and what he thinks, not what he's being told to say.
Yeah.
And when it's back to the Rock thing, when Rock goes on Joe Rogan, the beloved Rock goes on Joe Rogan, and it's the most vanilla shit you could possibly say on a fucking podcast, it makes me instantly think, I don't trust a goddamn word that comes out of his mouth.
Yeah, because somebody
is greasing him. And it's the same, like, I think we're just all looking through that. A lot of young people are using that as a filter.
Yeah.
If we listen to you, or we interact with you, or watch a video that of you talking or doing whatever, and we smell that shit of, I don't know. He seems like he's pretty vanilla. He seems like he's got somebody greasing him. Somebody's got him bought. It's not, we don't fuck with it. We just don't.
And that plays into Trump's hand.
Yeah, it does. And that's the thing. That is the thing. You can love him or hate him, but at the end of the day, he's going to tell you what it is, how it's going to be. This is what we're going to do. And a lot of the shit that he said he was going to do, he did.
Yeah.
A lot of it. He might have missed on a few things, but a lot of it, he did say what he's going to do, and he did it. Yeah. And people, foreign leaders, they fucking respected him.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Well, they didn't like him.
They didn't like him.
At the end of the day, they had to respect him.
Yeah.
Because he said... And it's interesting because the amount of time that media spends still on Trump, it's just insane. I mean, because that's their bread and butter, is beating on him. But just when you think like,
and that's the thing, sorry. It's working against him because it is not the same world, it is not the same landscape as it once was back when he was in office, because everybody knows. We all look back and we go, geez, they were intentionally talking about Trump every day, bringing him down every day for the ratings.
Yep.
And now look at CNN. Now look at all these big media. They're trash without him.
Yeah.
And so we all see that. We all recognize that. And so when they start that machine back up again, it's not going to have the same effect on people as I think it did then, where they just bought everything that they were being told about Trump. I just don't think it's going to work.
And I think it's interesting that, just when you kind of feel like, I don't know, like the news around him kind of settles down, you just get this random shit that happens. So there's a new president or prime minister of the Netherlands that got elected. And I can't remember this guy's name, but he's a nationalist. And he gave a speech. And the Netherlands have a huge problem. They're like a lot of countries in Europe. They pretty much had open borders, and they have a hell of a lot of immigrants and a lot of unemployment in that demographic, and a lot of unrest, and They have budget problems, and they got everything that every other country in Europe is fighting. And he was giving this speech, and somebody asked him, I don't know what the question was, but asked him about America. And he said, he goes, if I could give America 2 pieces of advice, the first one would be to fight Islam before it gets a foothold in your country. And he went on pretty lengthy about why that's such a big problem in Europe. But his second point was, and reelect Trump. Just out of the blue, I don't know that guy from Adam, but in that speech, those were his 2 points. And it just brings Trump up, and I don't feel like he's not going away. Like, unless they find a way, unless he mysteriously dies, it's a good thing that he was no better friends of the Clintons than what he was. But if he doesn't just die, or they find a way to put him in prison, he is going to be a power within this next election. I don't know what it looks like, and I don't know if he's going to get the nomination, but I feel like
if he doesn't get in prison or get dead, he's getting the nomination. I think they know that, and I think he knows that. There is too much momentum working for him right now. There's too much momentum.
And there's no strong candidates.
No.
There are no strong candidates.
Especially on the left, there's none. Yeah. There's absolutely none. Newsom's terrible. Biden's terrible. Kamala's terrible.
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders, geez, is he going to run again?
I don't think
Try to.
I don't think he could.
I mean, there's nobody.
Yeah. Which I think that's why Robert Kennedy Jr. went independent.
I would say he did go independent.
He went independent because I think he's looking at it and he's going.
I'm surprised by that because I feel like he could have easily won.
But I think he just realized that the Democratic Party
doesn't want him.
They'll do anything not to allow him. They're not going to let him debate Biden. Mm-hmm. There's no way that he could get the nomination.
Yeah.
So he's going to run as an independent. And a third candidate hurts the incumbent the most. Mm-hmm. But I think he's just rolling the dice, and I think he knows that if Trump ended up with the nomination, he probably doesn't have a chance. However, if Trump doesn't end up with the nomination, and let's say you get somebody like Nikki Haley, a third-party candidate's got a chance because you've got a weak Republican.
I think he's got a chance. If Trump does not get the nomination, no matter who gets it on the Republican side, he's got a chance.
Because Biden is weak.
Yep.
And if you don't get a slam dunk Republican, I think he has a chance. And I think that's what he's gambling on. Mm-hmm. I think he's just like, we're going to play this out, and we're going to see what we can do, and let the chips fall.
Honestly, I think the two-party system is the dumbest fucking thing that we've ever done.
Well, it's the money. The money is driven it that way because it's the only way. You can't get enough big donors to make it work.
I can't remember, but one episode, it was a while ago, we talked about how an independent, like, they don't get invited to any of the shit. They don't get as much funding as they don't get, like, it's nearly impossible to win as an independent.
Ross Perot probably came as close as anybody, but
which is stupid.
Yeah.
It's stupid. And as a voter, it makes you feel like I feel conflicted because it's like, if you did have a candidate as an independent running that you really liked and you didn't like the other ones, how many other people feel? It's just like, am I wasting my vote?
But you got to think about.
You got to choose between the two.
The establishment likes that.
Yeah.
Because think about the people that probably would vote independent. Those are arguably, those people are your libertarians and probably your most informed voters. Mm-hmm. And they would just soon have you stay home and not vote.
Yeah.
Or have your vote not count.
Yeah.
So that's why it's structured the way it is.
It's bullshit.
So the last point that we'll dive into is, on our Q&A last time, we had a guy that sent us a message. I think he was from the Netherlands, and he was talking about how their country was debating putting on taxes on
Carbon.
and on methane, which would hurt, animal agriculture. Well, last week, John Kerry, who I have to say, John Kerry in his speech looked about as coherent as Joe Biden. I think they might have the same programmer because he was just, it was kind of cringy. But he went off on a tirade. He was in the United Arab Emirates at the,
COP28.
Yeah, COP28. And it's a big climate conference that they have over there where all these important people expend a shitload of carbon to fly all their private jets to the United Arab Emirates to talk about how bad the rest of us are about
how us peasants are the problem.
And the UN is on this kick, and Kerry pounced on it, that agriculture is the enemy. Animal agriculture specifically is the enemy. And he said, how can we feed the world when agriculture is raising the global temperature, I don't know, some crazy number every year? And he was pushing for this same tax on carbon for farmers. And basically, and then his credibility is zero. I mean, he's picked up right where Al Gore left off, and he is the climate czar for the Biden administration. But he also talked about how there should be no new coal plants. And I just laugh at that because the Chinese, I don't even know if the Chinese were there or not, but they're building coal-fired power plants like it's going out of style. And they give no shits. They don't care. Because the only thing they care about is their economy and their people and how they're going to keep this thing going. They do not give a shit about anything else. And for him to sit there and say, oh, yeah, well, this or that or whatever, but I think it's very alarming that somehow at that level, politicians have decided to villainize farmers. And I'm just bamboozled as to how they believe that less productivity when it comes to food production somehow helps the world.
It does if you're trying to sell us crickets to eat.
Yep.
It does if you want a weaker population. It does when you don't want people to eat meat. It does when you want a malnourished, or even go to the extent of let's drop the food supply by a fuckload and have people starve to death. I mean, if that's what you're after, makes perfect sense to me. I'm going to channel my inner Dana White here and just say, John Kerry, fuck you. We're not going to, that's the thing. We gotta stand up. This is another example of some tyrant and some politician going there, speaking his mind, talking down to us, telling us that it's the farmer's fault. They're the problem. What are we going to do? We got to stop animal agriculture. People got to stop eating meat. So what? You're going to fucking fly on your private jet and get your prime rib served on you on a silver platter and fucking eat that, and then we're going to stop eating meat, and we're going to be the peasants to just implement whatever comes to your mind? Fuck you. No, screw you. What's the change you're making in your life to be environmentally friendly? You're not. It's the same bullshit. It's the same bullshit with COVID. These people telling us we got to wear masks, get the vaccine, this and that. Then you see them get a picture at a restaurant, paparazzi, and they got their fucking mask down below their nose, or they don't even have the fucker on, and they're just sitting at the dinner table with their family and friends with no mask on, and they're telling us we got to wear a mask everywhere we go. Fuck them. They think that they can tell us what to do, how to live our lives, control us, and at the end of the day, I think that's what it all comes down to.
And let's not forget that.
And there's a lot of money to be made in this new wave of change. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of this is just another industry that, there's a lot of opportunity with this whole climate movement. And it's one of those movements that every human can identify with, because every human wants the earth to last. Us as farmers can identify with that even more so. The land that we farm today has been in our family for 6 generations. And we wanted to take care of this land so more generations can farm on this land as well. Same thing with the earth. We want this earth to stay here, right? We want it to be here for generations and more generations, right? So it's like one of those issues that they want to shove down our throats, and every person can be like, yeah, I can get with that. But to the level that they go with it, it's fucking just insanity.
Yeah.
It's insanity at some point. I mean, I'm all about, doing a little bit better, right? You can do your thing and be more environmental friendly, but to the extent that they want to go and how fast they want to ramp it up, even though most of it we're not even ready for, it's stupidity, and I think it's just control, and I think it's to profit.
Well, this is what I think is going to be most interesting to watch over the next few years. And this is where I feel like politicians always fail to understand what society is capable of. And the technology is out there, and in agriculture, a lot of people are early adopters. I'd say American agriculture is some of the most efficient and some of the most innovative of anyone in the world. And within animal agriculture, I think you're going to see in the next few years processes and production models that are going to dramatically reduce greenhouse gases, methane, runoff, whatever you want to talk about. And they're going to do it profitably to where the farmer can actually thrive. But I think what's going to be interesting with that is you can't run around and villainize farmers that they're doing all this shit wrong and then have the farmers change it and be the solution and them still be the villains.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really interesting to watch how these fucking politicians still try to paint everybody as they are as we transition in this country to being the solution instead of the problem.
Yeah, watching them change their tune.
Watch John Kerry try to figure out how the fuck to pivot on that.
Yeah, that's where we just can't forget.
Yeah.
Don't forget the fucker's name and what he said.
Well, let's face it. When the Biden administration ends, John Kerry's whole career ends too. He's just a tag along. He and Joe Biden, they are that crew. Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, Mitt Romney, who's the bug out guy that
Mitch McConnell,
all those guys, Nancy Pelosi, that whole generation, they are the fucking flower children from the 60s that still think that they got fucked over, that they never got to build their utopia, and they are holding on at the top of the political pyramid for dear life, and they're just about at the end of the rope. And when the Biden administration changes, all them fuckers are out because nobody believes them. You want to talk about integrity? None of these politicians have any integrity, but the worst of the worst are the oldest ones in there. Those guys, everybody knows when they give a speech like that, do you think John Kerry wrote that speech? That motherfucker probably couldn't make a paragraph. And Biden, of course, is the same way. He's got somebody talking in his ear all the time.
Mitch McConnell stops mid-sentence. Shits his pants mid fucking speech.
All these guys, they're out. It's like they're in this reality, they only know what all their handlers are telling them. And they're telling them that, oh man, you got this, you're sharp. People believe what you're saying. You need to lead this, lead that, set the tone. Nobody believes them. Nobody does.
Yeah, but then don't you think even if they leave, the handlers are just going to handle somebody else?
No,
they're still
they
going to
will.
Because I think at the end of the day, they're being told what to say. It's an agenda being pushed from the elitists, the corporations that want this to happen, that are going to profit the most. Whatever's behind this shit.
Yeah. It'll continue on.
It'll continue on, but
at least I'll get to watch some new person that I don't, I'll slowly hate over a few years instead of just have to see them all.
Yeah, and this whole carbon thing, it's there's confliction on there. I think for me anyway. Like, one hand, if we can do better in animal agriculture to do better by the planet, why not? But let's not villainize farmers. Let's not go, this needs to be done by this year, whatever it is, 2026, 2028, whatever, or else there's going to be fines, penalties, this kind of thing. Let's do it the right way. Let's do it the way that farmers can be a part of the solution, that we're not villainized, that we're not, that we can profit, that we can make some money, that we can make things better and not have it be just like, villainized and shoved down our throats, and you make this decision or you're going to stop farming, or make this decision or you're out of business. Like, that's where you completely lose me. And I just want to tell you to go fuck yourself. Yeah. So
I think you just did.
Yeah, I did. That guy, I did to him. He can shove it. But anyway, it's one of those things that I think is going to be coming no matter what no matter what we say on Barn Talk here. I think that agenda and that movement's coming. And so it's just a matter of how can we benefit and how can we profit as farmers from it, and how can we still, hold our independence and our freedom as farmers. Like, we cannot let people dictate how we're going to do things.
Well,
the rate of how we do things.
We are exactly like when I said earlier when we were talking about how people that have companies that are successful, that all they want to do is do their job. They want to make a product, employ people, and be successful. But they get drug into the culture war because people want to get them. People want to tear people down, and they want to get people involved in this culture war. Well, farmers are the same way. And unfortunately, like it or not, all of us have to get out in front of it, and we have to show what we do and show and tell why we do what we do. And we have to be part of the answer, because if we don't come up with the solutions, we're going to get shit shoved down our throat, and we're going to get put out of business.
We're going to turn into Europe.
Exactly. The Europeans were way too slow to get out in front of this, and we cannot make the mistakes that they made. So
that's a good point. We got to
stand up, and we've got to interact with people. We've got to interact with people that we don't like, that don't share our view. But we have the advantage because we can actually show people the truth, show what we do, explain why we do it, and embrace, if there's a better way to do it, embrace that. Don't just stick your head in the ground and say, well, this is the way we've always done it, so this is why we're going to keep doing it. There's some things that we do that don't need to change because it is the best way to do it, and it is how we've done it. And the reason that it's how we've done it is because it's the best way to do it. But if there is a solution, it needs to come from within us. It needs to come from agriculture, not from some fuck like John Kerry.
Yeah.
Or that administration, or the UN. God forbid the UN. There isn't the only thing that can fuck something up more than an individual government is the United Nations. So let's not go down that road.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. That's a good point. Tying that cultural war, getting sucked into it. Yeah, I think you couldn't have said it any better myself. So
thank you.
Good wrap up there.
Thank you.
Good wrap up. Well, I don't think I got anything else. Last thing I want to just say, and it's real quick, and if you're not into sports, forget it. But the college football playoffs was announced, and Florida State went 13-0 this year, and they lost their starting quarterback that was in the Heisman. He was a front runner for the Heisman Trophy, and he got hurt, and They still won out all their games, won their conference's championship, despite him being injured, and they still kept him out of the college football playoffs because they weren't the same team as when the quarterback was playing for them. They weren't the same offense, even though they still won all the games the whole year. Just can you imagine going 13-0, winning every game in your season, and in a respectable conference in the NCAA, and getting shunned and pushed out for somebody that lost a game in Alabama?
So
Can't imagine. Alabama, Texas, Washington, and Michigan.
So the reason you let Texas in is because Texas is the only team that beat Alabama.
Beat Alabama. They lost one game. I can't remember who they lost to, but they beat Alabama. They won the Big 12 championship. Michigan, they won all their games, won the Big 10 championship. They're the most deserving out of all. Washington, too.
Yeah,
but Alabama.
Michigan just squeaked by Iowa.
Wasn't surprised by that outcome. It's the same shit every fucking year. We get to the Big 10 championship and get murdered. But anyway, I just think that this is my problem with the NCAA. This is my problem with college football. I watch NFL football way more than I do college, and this is the reason why. Because at the end of the day, you do not give teams like Florida State the opportunity to play for a national championship based on bullshit politics inside of the committee, the NCAA football committee that makes the decision on the best 4 teams. Because they always say it's the best 4 teams.
And it's not.
It's Alabama, great team, but you cannot deny the fact that Florida State, and what also it shows people inside college football that the quarterback position means more. Like, they always preach football's a team sport, team game, team sport, team game. Well, that team
is
won out without their star quarterback. That's a team win. That's a team game. And you pretty much said, they're not as good as they once were with that star quarterback. I don't care if it's a team game. Alabama looks better. They're getting in. Mm-hmm. And NFL has gotten a little bit more woke with their politics. Don't get me wrong. And I fucking hate that. But at the end of the day, you can have an 8th seed or whoever go into the playoffs that's an underdog and fucking win the Super Bowl. And they get their opportunity to play, not on bullshit politics, but because of what they fucking did in the season. What it tells me is when you watch college football, the regular season doesn't fucking matter because it's all about your strength of your schedule, who you beat, and hopefully somebody else that's a big contender, their strength of their schedule is weaker than yours is because it's about the strength of the schedule. That's all bullshit. That's all bullshit. You might as well tell the players that the fucking regular season doesn't even matter because you can go 13-0 and still not have a chance to play for a national championship. Stupid. They need to extend the fucking playoff tomorrow so this shit doesn't happen again because it's... And I probably watch college football more when there's more teams that get an opportunity to compete for a national championship. But when it's 4 teams or 2 teams, it's like, what am I watching this for? Alabama, Georgia every year, Auburn, Clemson every year. It's stupid. It's so stupid to watch. I don't want to watch that. I want to see an underdog maybe have the chance to win. And they always like to preach. Last thing I'll say about this. They always want to preach, no matter if it's NFL or college football. Any given Saturday, any given Sunday, 9 times out of 10 you can lose, but that one time you have a chance to win against any team. Well, we don't fucking you guys don't apply that rule to the college football playoffs because you say, oh, we're going to pick the best 4 teams and we're not going to extend the playoff. They are, thank God, in I think 2026 or maybe it's 2025. I can't remember, but you got to give those guys a shot. You got to give the teams that, you just never know who's going to win on a Saturday or Sunday and give them a chance. They'll make the game way more exciting, way more fun, but I just think that's absolute bullshit. That's all I'm going to say about it. So, politics just isn't good for anything. It just fucking ruins shit. It just does. And NFL, same thing to you. The one thing I don't like, stop the bullshit politics. Stop the bullshit wokeness. Quit that fucking shit. Nobody wants to watch that. We want to see teams compete, have fun, get on the gridiron, and kick some ass. That's all we want to see.
That's what we want to do here at Barn Talk. Just
Yep.
keep kicking ass.
So that's the last thing I'll say, and I kind of just made that up on the spot, but I had to voice my opinion because I think it's kind of bullshit. So, and I do watch football from time to time. So anyway, that's going to wrap it up, guys. We appreciate every single one of you guys for tuning in. Whether you've left a review, watch us on YouTube, listen to us on audio. If you ever shared the show, watch some of our clips on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever. We appreciate it very, very much. If you got any value from the show, if you related to us on something, you laughed out loud, anything like that, please, please, please share the show. And we'll see you back here next week for another episode.